99% of people do not hit their goals in property, and this is not down to the strategy they pick. This is not down to the time or their motivation or anything else. It's down to the mindset. The unfortunate thing is most people spend all their time trying to study what the next best winning strategy is without spending time trying to figure out how to work out the mind. So in this video, I'm going to share with you a couple of practical steps that you can do to start moving towards your goals. And how do I know this works? The last few weeks, I've had a real sort of anxiety sort of feeling. And before I get in the comments, don't panic. I'm not looking for a cry for help. I'm okay. But we have these waves in our sort of energy, our focus, our well-being. When I was 21, so I'm 47 now, so quite a long while ago, I was sectioned under the Mental Health Act, not once, but twice, once at 21, once at 25. And then about 11 years ago, it nearly happened again. And I've really just dived deep into how our mind operates to, one, avoid that happening, but number two, start moving towards my goals without being locked up under the Mental Health Act. Like anybody, I get procrastination, I get overwhelmed. And so the last few weeks, I've had this like really weird feeling of like overwhelm and anxiety over me. Not to a point of where I feel worried about getting sectioned again, but still to a point where it has demotivated me a little bit. So this is what I do when these waves come over, because you can't stay super positive, super high energy, super motivated all the time. Motivation is just borrowed, basically. If you rely just on motivation, you're not going to get anywhere. And this is what people do, or the perfect timing. I'll do this when this happens, or I'll do this when I get a chance for this. So this is exactly what super successful people is. They find default modes. So for me, like whether it's a gym, whether it's my business, I find minimum default modes. I learned this method from a guy called, I didn't learn it directly from him, but I learned it from a book called Atomic Habits by a guy called James Clear. And he talks about a 2-minute rule. And the big thing that people really mess up with when they're trying to achieve goals is trying to make it way too big. Like I'm going to go to the gym for an hour a day. My target is to do 6-minute HIIT workout every single day, and that is achievable for me. But most of the time, starting is the hard part. So by the time I've walked to the gym, which again strategically I've picked a gym that is walking distance away, by the time I've walked there, 8 minutes there and 8 minutes back, I've done just over 15 minutes worth of exercise. If I do 6 minutes HIIT, there's a fair bit of exercise, and walking there just psychologically doesn't feel like exercise because I've got to get there anyway. I can't convince myself I haven't got 6 minutes to put towards something that I value high in my life, which is my health and my well-being, because it really contributes towards that. So find what your defaults are. So in business, I have the defaults. When I work with people in my academy, I call it the 15-minute deal sourcer formula. And I say on the days you don't feel like it, just give 15 minutes. And that could be 3 lots of 5 minutes increments. It could be 15 minutes in one go. Most of the time, once you've started, you'll give more. Put it in your diary like an important meeting that you're going to do these at least 15 minutes and take action on it, and just do the minimum important steps, the foundational steps. So if you're looking for deals, phoning up agents, analyzing deals, speaking to investors, the really important stuff, the non-negotiable stuff. And then if you build on that afterwards, great. So when I'm feeling like this, exactly what I'm doing. I'm just doing my minimum sort of actions at the moment. And the next one is the getting started part is really hard. So as I said, once you start, it's a lot easier. And if you make the goal smaller, it's also easier, but there still is a resistance between starting. And I learned this from Mel Robbins' book, The 5-Second Rule. In our brains, how it works is our brain has got part of our brain where all the emotions are, and we are emotional beings, and we justify it logically afterwards. And what we end up doing is making emotional actions. And the reason behind that is because through evolution, before there was an abundance of bars and food and Uber Eats, food was scarce, and our brain and our thinking used up a lot of energy. It uses about 25 to 30% of the energy of what we consume. Ultimately, what our brain's done over, like it's evolved to make decisions without thinking. So just emotional decisions. That was great when there was not an abundance of food, but in today's world, it's not so good, because our brain doesn't know the difference between making a phone call for the first time to an agent and fear, and actually real fear of about to be run over or chased by a saber-toothed tiger back in the days when it evolved these thinking methods to keep us safe and sound. What we have to do is learn. Most things happen in our subconscious mind. There's subconscious program responses to things, and we need to hijack those before it happens. So we've got 2 parts of our brain, the emotional center and the logical thinking part of our brain. This is called the prefrontal cortex. It's the front part of our brain. It's what differentiates us from apes. And what we need to do is get it into the logical thinking part of the brain. And it's difficult because, look, at night time, a lot of people put their alarm on saying, I'm going to go to the gym early in the morning. And then the alarm goes off, they're tired, their emotional brain kicks in, and they just press snooze and they don't do it. A lot of people say, I'm going to start phoning agents up. and their emotional brain kicks in, it's fearful, and they just don't do it. So Mel Robbins talks about the 5-second rule. There's a 5-second window before it goes to that emotional part of the brain where you can hijack that. And she says, if you count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, or 3, 2, 1, then ultimately this will hijack it. And if you take an action step instantly without thinking about it, you'll just break that little pattern of it. So the 2 massive hacks that really work well for me is number 1, having a low goal and a default mode. And number 2, using a 5-second, even on them default modes, I can't be bothered a lot of days. So just go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, do it and just take that action step. It's really, really, really powerful. So listen, I'd love to hear what you do to keep moving forward towards your goals. Put it in the comments below. Make sure if you want to move towards some goals, have a watch this video here.